Today we are talking about NIS2, right? It's clear. It is the Network and Information Security Directive. Oh, why not? Then there's the acronym, right? And today, since the program said I had to introduce the topic, I was asked to do it. And here we are. Today, among other things, CERT will speak, which is fundamental, right? The national, because it's national, the Italian CERT, Computer Security Incident Response. I love it. Then each time I will mention the acronyms, because inside them is the essence, right? Speaking of essence, it monitors incidents. They are the ones who warn us about the risks. They are the ones who intervene afterward and that analyze the network and obviously collaborate with all the other XCR. They are at the center of our security. Later today, we will talk about the importance of incident notifications, that is, how important it is for companies and public administrations to inform the agency if something happens. And furthermore, the registration process, as we already heard before, is fundamental, because without registration, the most important part is missing, which is yours, your information, knowing who you are, what you do, and how much you are connected or not with the NIS, in this case, NIS2. And there will also be understood today the difference between essential entities and important ones will be discussed. And above all, the proportionality of obligations, because it is a fundamental theme that will be addressed right after me. And finally, an important focus dedicated to supply chain security. So, for those who know me, you know that cybersecurity has always been at the center of my various activities, and especially its dissemination. I'll show you these 3 minutes. They are 3 minutes that last a few seconds, summarized in the time you see. The attacks that normally, when I made the little film, I recorded one at home. I didn't wait for the hottest day. That's what happens. Today, these things are no longer just critical issues, attacks on large infrastructures alone, to the mega. But it affects everyone. They are continuous, always, all day long. Even at this moment, it affects everyone. It affects companies that until yesterday hadn't even thought about it. At least at the regulatory level for cybersecurity, it wasn't something left a bit. And perhaps instead, they are part of the NIS, part of the chain that needs to be secure all together. As mentioned before, it only takes one link. There are those who obviously have dealt with cybersecurity very poorly. And now maybe it's time instead to consider that perhaps, who knows, the hydraulic pump manufacturer who didn't think they would be part of the NIS might actually find themselves included. I have a particular perspective, because among television activities, online ones and institutional ones, I get informed about a lot of things, and I see that sometimes it is not realized that a cyber attack on a company, it leads not only to stopping, not only sometimes even to the destruction of the business, which one might say, fine, I'll make another one, but often secrets, know-how, the know-how are taken away. Like, it doesn't end there. They will use it, and there is research from the United States National Cybersecurity Alliance that says 60% of small and medium-sized businesses fail within 6 months of a cyber attack. Especially, like, for example, a ransomware attack. And you see security, one imagines it here. No, they imagine it here. Well, of course, it is an important point. There are those who treat it a little poorly. Here, it's full of stuff that definitely gets a few laughs. But there's the real point. There's a central point where we can identify cybersecurity. And it's between the keyboard and the chair. It's us. Most attacks manage to get past defenses, even of the most important systems, because there was a human who clicked, sometimes because there was the super offer of a phone at 1/10 of the price. In this new scenario, we must consider that security is no longer just for the big players. And perhaps it isn't even a heavy burden if you think about it, because it's a bit like, someone gave me a great example the other day, it's a bit like when you transform your home into a Class A. You say, I have to spend some money, but in return, the kids live with better temperatures, the climate benefits, the utility bill too, and above all, the house is worth more. Cybersecurity is not just a cost. In fact, you don't do the OS. So among the various outreach activities, clearly the various events I do with companies, every time I hear about ACN, often. One of the reasons is because it is new. In short, it has only been a few years since it was established, and it is not well known. And I see that there is a bit of fear because people say, oh, the new institution perched atop the mountain, that's sanctions, there you go. I collaborate with them. I've seen how they work, besides being extraordinary people, etc. But the most important thing, and here I've made a nice slide with artificial intelligence, is that it's not like that. It is not that I have seen that it wants to help. It wants to try to, in fact, it will not sanction anyone until 2026, certainly. Sure, registering is needed, but that is not the spirit. Here, and you can be sure, I guarantee it, that's not it. So you can approach, it's an institution, you can approach, they are trying to understand what is needed, your registration is needed. And by the way, of all those who scare you, from this point of view, and the various sellers also in this sector who right now, precisely following NIS2, are emerging and trying to propose things, the aggressive sellers, be careful, because even there one shouldn't exaggerate from that side, meaning compliance is not for today, it only requires registration. It is not today. Certainly, there are penalties for non-registration, but just complete it by the 28th of February 2025 and start on the 1st of December. Friends, to conclude, digital affects everyone. And there are no solutions. Even those who are not online find themselves online, simply because people talk about them in their absence. And the risks are spread throughout the entire supply chain. It really only takes a small link to change everything. It takes very little. And finally, this is the first regulation, which also talks about human resources. And where was the main risk? What was the weakest link? The human us between the keyboard and the chair. And so their reliability will also be checked. Training, awareness, rescreening, reliability checks, in short, background checks will occur because the human element is central. It's always there. And I must tell you that here the agency is putting together extraordinary things in these years, obviously starting with Prefect Frattasi, who is doing an incredible job because he is transforming what moreover arrived from the agency. It is new, and it arrived from COVID. It arrived from what happened in recent years, as you know. And so it's as if everything is starting now. And today it is protecting Italy. What I want to say is that, especially every time nothing happens, given the number of attacks and why, it can probably be that the agency is behind it. However, it will not cook. Even here, artificial intelligence always helps the rules at home. So I have seen that it's not about writing obligations and then they are your responsibility with the style sometimes of rigid institutions, but there is a process of consultation. So there you go. Serene, the law, moreover, provides that all ministries set up sectorial tables to achieve the best outcomes for everyone. This is the idea. It wants to solve. I have seen that it wants to solve. It wants to arrive at feasible solutions. So it's not a miracle solution. It's not the answer to all problems. But in Europe, it will make a big change, especially compared to the first version of the NIS. To conclude, we all need to take care of it, meaning if everyone does their part, we will make it. We each have to do our part. Here too, I told the AI, make me a country, a place where just one unmonitored entry point is enough to create problems. And at the end of the process, in a few years, Italy will ultimately be stronger and safer thanks to